got the honor to have Professor Kirsti Lonka from educational psychology at the University of Helsinki in Finland. She's also the director of a research group in educational psychology. You've worked in South Africa, or you're working currently in South Africa, in Taiwan, founding member of the Teachers Academy at University of Helsinki too. So we'll just leave it up to there so that we can start talking about the subject and don't keep on. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Professor, your book, and I know that you've been during these days on webinars all over the world, especially now in Colombia, because it's coming out in Spanish. Phenomenal-based learning is your book that's been translating to different languages now. And I would like for you to explain us briefly on how and which type of methodology you use in order to teach children.
Well, actually, the title of my book is a bit playing with words. So phenomenal, it's like wonderful or something, fantastic, something like this. I'm telling about the new curriculum of Finland, about the broad-based competencies, creativity, digitalization, and also interdisciplinary projects that my group and City of Helsinki, for instance, are putting in practice in the form of phenomenon-based learning, which is a form of a process of learning which is interdisciplinary in nature.
So what would you say is the key of the good results that Finn education has had in international tests or even in the same country?
Well, actually, I think is that we are never happy with ourselves. So the idea has been that we've been constantly changing and developing our education, and that our teacher training has been university level, even kindergarten teaching. But our class teacher program was moved to university in 1970s. So we have master level students who are specialists in psychology of learning or in educational sciences. So they have a very good education, so they are able to do very advanced things with children, and they have good understanding about how children learn and how to motivate them, and very much playful learning in early childhood education years. And I think this is all about is about creativity and collaboration and learning together, and also thinking out of the box.
The circumstances around the pandemic right now has forced us to get involved in a lot of distance learning, though this has showed too the differences in education stand out even more than before in, for example, our system here. So do you think that could the system close that gap, or all in the opposite, just keep on having it even broader?
Well, I've been working with very disadvantaged townships in Southern Africa. And even there, almost all young people have mobile phones. So there has been, if you want that everybody would have a computer at home and lots of money and that parents who are constantly helping. But now we have so much technology in our pockets that you needed to, the moon rocket to send it to the moon in 1969. We have as much calculation power in our pocket, every one of us. So basically, for instance, in France, they banned mobile phones and put them off. But in many countries where you have taught children how to use their mobile phones for learning in a constructive way, they are now advantaged. So that I noticed that even in Africa, almost everybody has a smartphone. All the refugees who are coming to Finland would have a smartphone, who are coming from Syria and other terrible war places. So I think that we should kind of stop demonizing technology and make it our friend, and to think that, okay, everybody has this technology now in their pockets, so let's make use of it. And that that kind of thinking, it's called connected learning, connecting what is happening outside school to schools. That would help people to learn how to use technology in constructive ways for learning.
And you were just giving the example in France where during class they banned their phones, as you just said. But then this connecting learning, do you think it will continue in our lives past this pandemic?
I don't think there is way back anymore. Because in Finland, when we started, everything was closed 12th of March. Yeah. And after that, I'm a university teacher. I had to learn a lot. My husband is a sixth grade teacher, a class teacher. He had to learn a lot. So in 3 weeks, we learned more using of technology than we had learned during the last 3 years. So we made a huge digital leap in how to use technology in constructive ways for learning. Those are winners who were early adapters and already learned how to make use of mobile technologies for learning before the crisis started. But now we have learned so many good practices that I don't think we are going back to the old school anymore.
Let's go back to phenomenal-based learning. What public policies need to be implemented, in this case in Finland or other places, in order for this methodology to succeed?
Even in Finland, you can have less and more successful ways of doing this. And you have to remember that 85-90% of teaching and learning is still subject matter based. So it's not that we are giving up everything else, but we are adding 1 or 2 projects per year. So I don't think that's so much to do. But the worst enemy are institutional routines, schedules, time management, and collaboration. This calls for collaboration between teachers. Teachers need to learn how to co-teach, and teachers need to become team workers. And teachers are very often kind of, I'm the boss of my classroom and nobody comes here. But now kind of this forces teachers also to be role models in how to collaborate with each other.
And talking about collaboration, what is the role that families or parents need to play in?
For instance, in Taiwan and in East Asian countries, there are these kinds of interdisciplinary projects as well. Very good projects and interesting. But very often it's the parents who oppose it. People, for instance, in United States or China, are astonished. In Finland, we have 15 minutes breaks between lessons, 45 minutes and then 15 minutes break, and everybody goes out playing or doing something. They think it's waste of time, already 15 minutes breaks. Or we have handicraft, arts, sports, music, even cooking in our mandatory school curriculum. All this kind of waste of time. But we know it's good for your brain and it's good for your soul. So I think when you have all this already, then you understand that this kind of learning is good for you and fostering your creativity. But I think parents and some very old school teachers who are very much teaching mathematics, teaching language, teaching this, and not being able to cross the boundaries of disciplines, they're very critical, even in Finland.
And how do you integrate children with special needs in this way of teaching?
Everybody can have their own roles and strengths, and they can be interest-driven. And it comes from the initiative and autonomy of the children. And they define what is the phenomenon, what kind of topics they would like to study, what kind of skills they would like to integrate. They learn how to negotiate, they learn teamwork, they learn creative thinking, they learn how to critically look at their own decisions, they learn to regulate things. So they learn so many things that they're going to need in their lives. It's not only working life, but that's what you need at home. And during this crisis, pandemic, we've noticed that those parents were very kind of suspectful about everything. They thought it was so much fun because teacher gave like homework was like, we have home economy. So they say, now you go home and clean the windows. And then you investigate what kind of cleaning chemical solutions you're using. And imagine how mothers and fathers were happy when the children's home assignment was to wash the windows of the house.
I can imagine. Yeah, definitely. That'd be great help around here too.
Yeah, so in Finland, we are very pragmatic. We are a bit kind of engineering country. So I think we are quite down to earth. So that doing all kinds of things that are practical is kind of what we like.